All right, this is the Olympic and powerlifting program. We're on phase 3, session 3. So I'm assuming you've already gone through the first 2 sessions, you've watched the intro video, and if you haven't, then you got to start there. Start at the intro video and start at phase 1. But if we're on to phase 3, let's get into it. We're going to begin with a spine bar hip hinge. We did this in phase 1. It's the same exact thing. You want this bar, a PVC pipe, in contact with your head, your shoulder blades, and your tailbone. And then you're going to, well, you can vary your base, do some wide, do some narrow, and then trying to hinge at the hip while keeping those 3 points of contact and just go down as far as you can. Ultimately, you're going to feel the stretch in the back of your leg. Next, you're going to go down for a pigeon stretch. Pigeon stretch. Cross one leg forward, reach the other leg back, and sit into your hips. Feel the glute of your front leg and the hip flexor of the back leg. Make sure to get both sides. Shoulder across, the side lying arm circles are next. Well, they're called lying arm circles, but you're actually going to be on your side when you do this. And what you're going to do, lying on your side, tucking your knees, and then I'm going to take my top hand, place it on the ground, and then I'm going to keep it on the ground and draw a big circle all the way behind me, back to my hip, and then through. Notice here that my shoulders and my hips have come off the mat to come overhead. Then once I come back in front of my head, they'll come back down to my side. So I reach, once I get overhead, my hand flips. I have to probably lift my hip to the side and lift my shoulders off the mat a little bit, but that's the idea, great shoulder mobility drill. Pec stretch is next, so I can reach my arm out, place it on the wall, and then turn my body and my shoulders away from that outstretched arm. Feel a stretch across my chest and have it below your shoulders. V-sit stretch is next. Have a seat, open up into a V-sit as wide as you can, sit your chest tall, and imprint the top, extend the top of your legs, extend your knees to imprint the bottom of your legs onto the mat. All right, now you're all stretched out and you're ready to lift. You've got your jerks first. So, jerks you're going to want to take from a rack. I don't have a rack in here, but you want to take your barbell from a rack on this exercise. So, imagining that I have it on here, take it off the rack, step it back a couple of steps. First thing, establish the rack position, which you should have been practicing quite a bit in phases 1 and 2. We're ready on phase 3 now. We did push presses. Now we're going to move on to catching it in a split jerk position, which I'll actually start there and show you what I mean by the split jerk position, the split position. So I'm going to be here. I'm going to catch it with one leg forward, the other leg's back. Front heel down, and my back heel is up. And you can see you have to find a sweet spot. You can't be too narrow, can't be too wide. You can't tight rope it, and then you don't want to go too wide out here either. There's a sweet spot. And then I don't want to catch too high, too stiff. I can't catch too low either. I might get stuck down there. So it's got to be right in the middle. So then you can work on that first, just practicing being up on your toes, because that's kind of where you're going to be when the bar is in flight. And then you're going to drop down. And what you want to notice is that it's actually the ball of your back foot that's going to contact the ground first and kind of push you forward and push your weight into your front heel. And once you're stabilized overhead, you're probably going to have more weight on your front foot. It might be 70-30 as far as the weight distribution goes. Now from here, so I've caught the bar overhead. Now I want to step my back foot forward and then my front foot back, which makes it a little bit easier for me to stabilize the bar when I'm finishing the lift. And I have to finish the lift by returning my feet together, okay? And so we've already gone off over the first part of the movement. When we were doing our push presses in phase 2, I was dipping and I was driving. So now I'm going to dip, I'm going to drive, I'm going to split catch, and then I'm going to stand back together. So I'll do a couple reps, and you can note of the tempo. So I'll dip, I'll drive, I'll stabilize, back foot comes second, front foot comes first. Dip, I'll drive, I'll stabilize, and I'll step the feet together. You may have noticed I did both legs. You might find that, you might find that one leg is stronger than the other one, and then you should know that. So if you're going to go for like when you end up going for a 1 rep max on this, you want to know which foot you're going to be going for. But I think it's also a good idea in practice to use both legs, to split forward in both legs. Be confident to do them pretty much interchangeably. Because I really think if you're into this and you're going to be doing a lot of reps of this, if you're only doing it on one side all the time, it's going to create an imbalance. So try to balance it out. And one tendency that happens is to overarch the back when we catch. We need to be thinking of flexing the hips forward, bracing the abdominals, and having enough shoulder mobility to get in a position where the weight is going to stay stabilized over the shoulder. All right, it's getting trickier now. The jerk is a tough move, so we got to practice it a lot. And then the next one will be deadlifts, and we're coming back in phase 3 to powerlifting deadlifts. It's the same ones, except for now you'll notice the reps are a little bit lower, so I want the weights to be a little bit higher. All right, let's just review a little bit our mechanics on this. So I can start with a conventional stance. I'll set the hips back, hands slightly wider than the shoulders. Pull the shoulders down, tighten up your upper back by squeezing your arms down, pecs and lats. Coming down on the abdominals tight, so I'm basically compressing all the muscles of my torso down to stabilize my spine. And then I'm spring-loading my legs by pushing my hips back. I feel the tension in my hamstrings. I have the bar close to my body, and then I'm going to take this little bit of slack out of the bar so I'm not going to jerk it up. I don't want to do that. I want to establish my tension before I lift the bar up, and then I'll be able to pull it steadily through. And I finish through all the way, fully lock out the knees and hips, get the shoulders behind the bar at the top of the motion. Now probably the hardest part of a deadlift, if you're doing multiple reps, comes right here. So what I want to do first is to send the hips back while squeezing the bar so it stays close to my leg and doesn't fall in front of me. So I'll keep the hips back and set the weight down and set it down all the way in between every repetition. And really here is also a difficult part. Once I get past the knee, I need to sweep the legs, pull the bar back so that it comes in contact with my hips. And then the last part that's going to be difficult as the weight gets harder is if you're not tight enough to start, then the thing that's going to happen is your hips are going to come first, and then you're going to be in a rounded position, and if you get to that point, don't even try to lift it. Just let's reset, let's establish really good body mechanics and patterns with our torso. Only loading a torso in the proper posture. One other note on this: you may consider doing also sumo deadlifts, and so you might find that sumo deadlifts are more comfortable for you. So really quickly, I'll talk about this. This is where you're going to take a wider stance, and you can go anywhere from a stance that's slightly wider than your shoulders to some guys like to go really wide with this, and you can play with this a little bit. But I do think it is important to mix up. You may want to do conventional most of the time, but every once in a while I would cycle in vary your stance and do a sumo set. So for this one, then the arms will drop straight down from the shoulders. The arms will be inside of the feet. And by the way, also for the deadlift, you may, if you can hold on to it with conventional grip, that's awesome. You may also, though, want to do an alternate grip like this. You'll have a little bit more grip strength, perhaps. But I would say, though, whatever you did in phase 1, you want to do it again in phase 3. And then if you start the program over, if you start over at phase 1, if the second time you want to do the other style, if you did conventional the first time, maybe next time think about doing sumo style the second time. Okay, great. Skiir rows are next. So for this one, I can take a pair of dumbbells, and I'm going to lean forward. I'm going to be in a bent over position, feet together, and then I'm going to have my arms hanging to start, and then squeeze my shoulder blades together to have my arms sweep back to my sides here. From this angle you can see where I'm staying pretty tight to my side, and elbows are staying straight. That's going to really help you isolate that strength to be able to sweep the bar back at the last part of your pulls on your Olympic lifts. Medball chops are next. Got my medicine ball, and I think, well, one of the best ways you can do this, if you have a wall where you can throw the ball against the wall, this will be really good. And I have just sheetrock here, so it won't really work. But the idea would be for me to throw the ball down in this chopping motion, have it come in contact with the ground, and then right at the perfect spot where it's going to hit the ground, or it's going to hit the ground, hit the wall, and then bounce right back to you. So I'm coming down, it hits the ground, bounces right up off the wall, and right back to you here. Alternatively, you don't even have to throw the ball, and you can still get pretty good benefit in the same basic idea. So start with the ball on one side, add my weight over on one side, and then I shift my weight down, bend my opposite leg, and then I'm here. And then I work to bring it up, and then back down, up, and back down. Working on lateral movement, and also your explosiveness, and your power. Dumbbell bicep curls are next. So I can just get a pair. Now there's a couple different ways to do you can do hammer curls, you can do this. My favorite way to do it is starting with the palms facing your hips, and then do a quarter turn so your palms are facing your chest and your shoulders at the top. And then you can get a little bit of rock into this if you want to, but do try to have, it depends on what you're looking for. If you want a little more of an explosive thing and be able to handle a little heavier weights, then you can rock a little bit, but also working your strict strength is really good as well. And make sure that you're not rounding and shrugging when you're doing your curls. You have to think of your curls as they're a full upper torso exercise. Your abdominals, your shoulders have to be back in order to keep your good posture and not let yourself come into a rounded or shrugged shoulder position. V-ups. Coming over to your mat, and a V-up is basically a sit-up where you're also bringing your legs up in the air as well. So you're starting totally flat, and then you're going to V-up, and you can reach your hands up to touch your toes at the top. And ideally, you want to have a really tight V at the top here, so you're not having to round too much, and your feet are fully extended. And you want, as your shoulders come up, your toes come up at the same rate, so you're not having one come up and then the other come up, trying to coordinate it and have the control of that. That's your goal. Next we'll do arch hold with kicks. So I'm going to have my hands down by my side, palms down, and I'm going to squeeze my shoulder blades together to lift my chest off the ground, squeeze my hips to get my legs off the ground, my knees off the ground, and then I'm going to do flutter kicks at the hip. So my toes are going up and down there. And then the next one will be a side plank in band press or pull. So I want to set up a band so that this is a little bit too high for me. I'd want it a little bit lower, but this will work. And I'm going to be in a side plank, and then I'm going to come up into a side plank. The band's going to be behind me, and I'm going to press the band straight out. Okay, and then I would want to switch sides, get the other side, get the other arm, and then I can face it. I go again, but this time I face it, and I pull the band to me as I'm in a side plank. So it's really great stability and strength all in one. And then the last one will be some band reverse flies. So to do reverse flies with a band, I tie them around a post, but this one I'll have right in the middle so I can hold on to this band on either side. And then I can bend over at the waist a little bit and then squeeze my shoulder blades together right out to the side. And that's actually pretty heavy there, but I want to make sure that I'm picking a weight where I can open all the way up for every repetition. Okay, so that concludes the strength part for day for session 3. The cardio is in another video. Check it out.